Right now, I'm challenging myself to see if I can make 128 Regulation H teams that are each different from one another over the course of 128 days. Why 128, you might ask? At the end of the 128 days, we're going to do something special where we battle every team against each other in a single elimination bracket to see which team emerges on top. There will be some competitively strong teams, there will be some gimmick teams, and there will be some probably a good number of goofs and gaffs in there, so if you want to follow through to the end, subscribe so that you can keep up with each day. But without further ado, let's move on to day 33. Alright everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video, we are going to be going over an anti-Pelipper Rain team, because Pelipper Rain is pretty popular just because there's so many different ways that people are running Pelipper, and there's so many good Rainmons like Basculegion and Archaludon. So this team kind of aims to quell some of those big threats by being anti of those big threats. But starting off here, we have our actual Pelipper that we're going to be using to set Rain, and this Pelipper set is pretty simple in the fact that we have all of our stuff invested in special attack and speed because we want to be using Hurricane and Weather Ball to do lots of good stab damage, as well as we have the Wide Guard for saving ourselves from spread attacks, and we have the Tailwind for increasing the speed of all the Pokemon on our team. As well as we are using Stellar Terra to also even further boost the power of our offenses for those KOs that might just not reach KOs. As well as we're using the Focus Sash just so we can always take at least one hit. Next up we got Ludicolo, and Ludicolo is a nice mon because it has the Swift Swim ability, which means that our speed will be doubled whenever our Rain is active. So with Ludicolo we can afford to do some pretty good water type damage with the Surf, which will be 100% accurate unlike Muddy Water, but it also plays into some of the later strategies that we'll talk about. And we also have the Stab Energy Ball for hitting a lot of those other water types that want to be really unique in the Rain where they do water type damage. Ludicolo doesn't care about water type damage at all, so we can deal good energy ball damage. And we also have the knockoff for getting rid of the opponent items, and we have the Fake Out just because Fake Out is also very nice to have in doubles. And since we plan to usually be the fastest thing on the field, we're going to be using the the EVs are messed up. And since Ludicolo is planning to be the fastest thing on the field, we're going to be using the Cover Cloak item so that we're not getting faked out, so that way we can always move. And we just have Terra Water just because this Surf and Rain will do so much damage, even to things that are neutral to it. Next up we got Breloom, and the purpose of Breloom here is that we are a grass type who does some pretty good grass type damage, but we can also get sashes because of our Bullet Seed move, which is 25 base power, but with loaded dice we always guarantee 4 to 5 hits, and with our Technician ability it acts like a choice band on Bullet Seed, which is pretty nice. And it also works with our Rock Tomb that we can use for good rock type damage, but it also slows our opponent and gets powered up by the Technician, so you definitely can't be sleeping on that Rock Tomb. And we have some support moves in the Spore for putting the opponent to sleep all the time, and we have the Fake Tears. Since we have a good number of special attackers on this team, we can click Fake Tears into very bulky Pokemon like Archaludon, who kind of count on their natural bulk in order to take hits, but we can just get rid of that with Fake Tears. Next up we got Tatsugiri, and it's a bit weird to see Tatsugiri without Dondozo. However, our Tatsugiri is going to be using Storm Drain, which means that we will be immune to water type moves with Tatsugiri, and with our Terra Normal, it means that most Basculegion only run water and ghost type moves, so Tatsugiri hopefully in the endgame will be completely immune to Basculegion. But with our Tatsugiri, we're running the Choice Scarf because we want really fast damage, and the good Stab Muddy Water and also Stab Dragon Pulse are pretty consistent. And since we're Terra Normal, I figured we might as well just go Hyper Beam for that one really strong hit of damage from Tatsugiri, but we also have the Icy Wind for some nice speed control. Next up we got Hisuian Goodra, and our Hisuian Goodra is a body press shelter set, so hopefully what we can do with Goodra is that we can set up a lot of shelters to get our defense really high and eliminate the special attackers that are on the opponent team, so that is a Goodra endgame, and then we can just body press into all of our opponents. But in case there is a ghost type or something that we can't body press into, I decided to tech the Muddy Water onto Goodra, since water is a very nice Terra type on Goodra. We'll also be getting some stab damage if we need to Terra Water for whatever reason. And we can be running Sap Sipper, which makes us immune to grass type moves, so another even further reason to be going Terra Water, as we'll only be weak to Electric with Goodra. And we're mostly running Bulk on this Goodra, so I decided to give it leftovers so that we would have some healing over time. And last but not least, we have the Alolan Muck, who I mostly teched on here just to help us deal with Size Spam a little bit more, but Alolan Muck can actually do a lot here with its Power of Alchemy ability, which which will copy an ability whenever something goes down. So we can get Swift Swim from Ludicolo, Technician from Breloom's kind of useless, but we can get Storm Drain from Tatsugiri, which means that if our opponent wants to go for a water type move while Tatsugiri has died, we can Power of Alchemy the Storm Drain onto Alolan Muck, so Alolan Muck will be immune to water. We can also reset our rain if we have Pelipper die, and then Alolan Muck gets to reset up the rain, which is kind of neat. But with Muck, our main goal is just to kind of be specially tanky and maybe to do some good damage, good chip damage really to other Pokemon, as we have the Sludge Wave, which is good strong stab, and we have the Dark Pulse for single target stab, and we have the Thunder, which will be 100% accurate whenever Pelipper does have the rain up, and is a nice tech move that I didn't know Alolan Muck had, but electric type damage on Alolan Muck will definitely surprise your opponents. As well as I just tacked on the Ayapapa Berry because it's nice to have a berry just to restore your health whenever Muck is pretty tanky. But yeah, that's the basis of the team. Let's get into some battles. Alright, so here we have a Blood Moon Ursaluna Trick Room team, but they also had a Choice Scarf Monkey to help them ensure getting the Trick Room up, which messes with a few of our anti-Trick Room measures. So they start Farigiraf, Annihilape, and I led Pelipper and Ludicolo here, thinking that I could just surf into Annihilape and that would decrease its damage enough, but the final gambit really wasn't what I should have been worried about. It was just Farigiraf setting up Trick Room that I really didn't address correctly, because now Ursaluna comes in and it just clicks Terra Normal into everything, and Farigiraf's gonna clean up Pelipper there with Psychic. But the two mons that I have in the back especially aren't made for this, because it's Tatsugiri and Breloom, and they both just get obliterated by Hyper Voice. So not the best game one in my opinion, but in my defense I wasn't warmed up yet. Okay, so let's try that again, but this time I wanted my opponent to think that they could easily do that same thing that they did last time, so I led the same lead as last time, but this time I knocked off the Giraffe to get rid of its leftovers, and I finally gave a Pelipper, which brings it down to its Sash as I Hurricane into Farigiraf, and it brings it pretty low this time, and now they bring in Ursaluna, and we're just gonna hard swap in Muck and Hisuian Goodra here, as the Ursaluna does the same thing that I did last time, but this time it Hyper Voices instead of Blood Mooning, which I'm kind of okay with. Its Psychic doesn't do any damage to Muck, and now we have our Trick Room pieces inside of Trick Room, so we're dealing a lot better as they try to Earth Power into Goodra, but we get to get off some Sludge Wave chip, and I was hoping to pick off Farigiraf, but we don't get to do that as it gets to Hyper Voice for some pretty decent damage. They Earth Power into Goodra, and that doesn't do enough damage to KO it, as we get to Sludge Wave with Muck, and that's going to take out Farigiraf here, and the Body Press is going to do not enough damage to Ursaluna, but enough damage that another attack will take it out. And they Hyper Voice with Ursaluna again, and that's going to take out both of our mons here, but it's also going to cause Ursaluna to take itself out, as now it is just Primarina versus Ludicolo and Pelipper left. And we're going to fake out the Primarina, and Pelipper's going to get off a Hurricane into it, which also gives it a confusion, but at this point now we can use Ludicolo to end the game, and the opponent understands that this game is over. So I'm trying to think about what my opponent is going to have for their adjustment, and I thought that they were going to lead Amoonguss Farigiraf so that they could redirect attacks, but they just decided to lead Annihilape again, which is a little frustrating, as I tried to lead Breloom so that I could put it to sleep, but they decided to just Ice Punch with Annihilape, which I'm pretty okay with, as I got to put to sleep Farigiraf, and we got the free Shelter with Goodra, as I decided to take out Breloom with Annihilape, and I just Shelter with Goodra again, hoping Farigiraf won't wake up, and now it's been 2 turns of sleep, and now we can get Muck on the field, who, if we double Farigiraf with the Muck and the Goodra, we can make sure that they won't be setting up Trick Room this game, which is super important. And I protect Goodra here because I thought they were going to Final Gambit, which they do, and Primarina goes for the Hyper Voice into Muck, which doesn't do too much damage because we're pretty special tanky, as Muck gets a free Sludge Wave in the both slots, and we did crit the Primarina, which was nice, but I don't think it mattered in the overall game. They decided to just Final Gambit into Goodra again, and we get the Sap Sipper, as the Primarina crits the Terra Water Hyper Voice this time, which, you know, probably mattered, but now we get to bring in just Pelipper, and this was before I had Stellar Terra on Pelipper, which I just had water on it this time, but if we water Terra'd into Ursaluna and then Hurricane damaged into Primarina, I decided to Wide Guard just to show that the Primarina can't hurt me anymore, because it was Hyper Voice and Dazzling Gleam were its 2 only damage moves, and I could have Wide Guarded them out if I really wanted to, or played a lot of Wide Guard mind games, but that would that would have taken way too much time, so I just decided to click the Hurricane, and if we were Stellar Terra, that would 100% taken them out, but I'm not quite sure what the roll was, because, I mean, we crit them for the Sludge Wave damage to bring them down to about half to make it so that Hurricane probably didn't need the Stellar Terra boost, but now that we're Stellar Terra boosted, we can wrap up that endgame more assuredly. There's also the endgame where we poison either the Annihilape or the Primarina on that one Sludge Wave turn, and then the game absolutely goes in our favor because Annihilape probably won't be able to take down Primarina on that turn with its decreased poison health. Okay, here we have Pelipper Rain, but they also have Trick Room options, and their Overquill is Haze, but it doesn't explode, which is good at least. So they can either choose to lead Rain here, or they can choose to lead Trick Room. I'm not sure what, I guess I assume that they would lead Rain here. So let's maybe start Breloom, because I think I would be okay losing Breloom and Pelipper. And then in the back, I think we need Hisuian Goodra and Muk. We'll see how this game plays out. They start Overquill and Archaludon. Well, they get the free reign from me bringing my own Pelipper. They could just Poison Jab Breloom, and I feel like that would do enough damage to it that it would kill it. But what if we decide to Spore Archaludon and hope that it's not fast Archaludon, and then swap into Goodra here? As they swap in Indeedee here. As they Terra Grass, but we are Steel type, so they can't Poison Jab us, and we get the Spore. But the Indeedee safety goggles. Okay, so kind of a mute turn there. I think Bullet Seed would do a lot of damage into Indeedee, so we're gonna do that into this slot. And then I think starting to set up shelters would be good. As Indeedee's gonna follow me, and they do Poison Jab Breloom, and that does 100%. Okay, but now we have up a shelter at least. So now that we have the Focus Sash, we can just bring back in Pelipper, and we're gonna Hurricane this slot, and I really don't think we need another shelter boost is the thing. I guess we can just what if we Tailwind actually? Let's take this turn to Tailwind and then Body Press the Indeedee. They're gonna Poison Jab, and that's gonna do a good bit. They did not redirect this turn. Wait, what does Indeedee do? Does this hit the Trick Room? No, it's just like he's Pelipper. Oh, well, I could have just Hurricane that turn. Okay, it's fine. We can bring in Muk here, and Muk is pretty safe from the Overquill. Oh, the Overquill might just haze. Yeah, the Overquill's gonna haze. We can Sludge Wave with Muk and Body Press the Indeedee, and that should, like, pretty much take both. Because we have the Tailwind, but they're Swift Swim, and they're naturally faster than us anyways. So yeah, they haze, and we do good damage to both. Body Press isn't going to KO Indeedee now, and now they got Trick Room. I mean, that's fine with me. Both of our pieces are super slow, so now we can just Sludge Wave and Shelter again, because Sludge Wave... Sludge Wave did 14% to Indeedee before. I think it's better that Indeedee stays on the field, though, because it's not really doing anything. So we might as well... yeah, just Shelter and Sludge Wave, because Indeedee doesn't die, and Muk is faster, which means we're slower under Trick Room. So I think we should just Dark Pulse and Body Press and see... Oh, they decide to swap in Pelipper here. As Archaludon goes for Electro Shot, being super... Oh, we're in Tailwind, right? I forgot about that part. Well, they get the defense boost here, and we get Dark Pulse into Archaludon, which doesn't do too much damage, but now that we're in Trick Room, we're slower than them again. Which means that we can Thunder the Pelipper, even though it's Focus Sash, and Body Press the Archaludon? Yeah, so that takes out Archaludon. Pelipper takes the Thunder and goes down to its Sash as it gets to Hurricane into Muk, but Muk is super tanky. Now they bring back in Overquill, who can just protect. The Pelipper can also protect, so it's good for them if they just decide to protect out this turn, but it's good for me if I can just Sludge Wave and I can Shelter. But the Shelter isn't going to do anything because I have to haze it away. I'm going for the Shelter anyways. Yeah, they just decide to double protect this turn. So, 2 turns of Rain left, and we can Sludge Wave, and they really don't have a way to break Goodra right now. I mean, I might as well just Body Press into Pelipper. They haze away, boost, and they hurricane Muck for what damage that they can get. Muck is confused, but we get to eat our Papa Berry at least, and we hurt ourselves in confusion. We get to body press into Pelipper though, that's going to take it out, and I really don't... I mean, the Crunch, I don't think will do too much damage, and they need to count on... I mean, they can't really take out Muck either, because their Indeedee is Psychic. But I think we can just Sludge Wave and body press and be fine. They decide a Helping Hand with Overquill, which Throat Chop does a lot, but we can just Sludge Wave with Muck, so we're dead. Okay, so how would my opponent adjust? I think they would adjust by just leading Indeedee Hatterene. So what we could do... I could just do Pelipper and... I mean, I really don't dislike Pelipper Breloom again for the option of Spore. But then again, just leading Goodra and then Breloom for Hariyama. But Hariyama's gonna get its guts is the thing. Let's do Goodra and Breloom this time, and then have Pelipper and Muck in the back. They decide to lead Overquill and Indeedee. Okay. So I think the most powerful piece that they have on the field right now is Overquill, which we could just swap in Muck for Breloom right now, but we saw how good Goodra was in the last game, and they could just Helping Hand Throat Chop into Goodra. However, I think I'm going to... If I Shelter, then they have to haze it away in order to get rid of it. I think I'm going to body press the Indeedee and go for the Bullet Seed into Indeedee. They Terra Grass here, and they Helping Hand, and they Throat Chop into Goodra, which we get to Bullet Seed Indeedee, and if we're 5 hits, then we get to take it out. Okay, we're 5 hits, so we get to take it out. Body Press does some okay damage into Overquill now. So now they get to bring in Pelipper. And the way I see it is that they have to... well, they can't just Poison Jab into Breloom in order to take it out, but we could protect Goodra and then swap in Muck here. Okay, they do go for the Poison Jab, which does some damage, take Life Orb, and now they have Tailwind set up. Okay. Leftovers, some damage back on Goodra, and we might be outside of Throat Chop range, not exactly sure. But I think I'm okay clicking Body Press into the Overquill, and then clicking the Sludge. Actually, it might be more useful for me to swap Pelipper in here, because I'm not sure how much use Pelipper has against other things on this team. So let's swap in Pelipper to probably die, and let's Sludge Wave here. Because they do Throat Chop Pelipper, which is going to cause them to take Life Orb damage. Hurricane doesn't do too much damage to Muck, and we do Sludge Wave down our own Pelipper, but we also Sludge Wave down their Overquill, which is good. Because now we get to bring in Breloom, who should threaten their Pelipper, and they can reveal whatever their last mon is. Okay, their last mon is Archaludon, who probably doesn't have a way to take Breloom this turn. They could just protect with Pelipper, and then hope Archaludon is faster, because it does have the Body Press for dealing with... It also lets Draco Meteor for dealing with Goodra. We could just Spore Archaludon... Did they Terra Grass? Yeah, they already Terra Grassed. So we can Spore into Archaludon, and then Thunder into the Pelipper. So I'm fine with losing Breloom if it means that we get to put Archaludon to sleep. As... What? Oh, they Tailwind with Pelipper. I forgot about that. And Body Press is going to do damage into Muck. Okay, well, we at least get to take out Pelipper this turn. But now, dealing with Archaludon is going to be a little tricky. We're still Tailwinded. I think it's best if we protect with Goodra this turn. And I really don't want the defense buffs to proc on Archaludon. We are Terra Water on Goodra, but that doesn't help us here. They might just decide to Electroshot Muck this turn. So I'm going to Terra Ground and Dark Pulse Archaludon for as much damage as I can get. What does Archaludon do? Okay, they decide to Electroshot, and they did Electroshot into Muck, so we're immune to it, but they still get the special attack boost. And Dark Pulse just isn't doing that much. Well, now they can just Draco into Goodra. So, yeah, I think this... Yeah, they just Body Press into Goodra even. I forgot about the Tailwind with Pelipper, so I thought Breloom was going to be faster than both. But this time around, I feel pretty safe just leading Breloom and then Muck, I think is fine. So let's do that, and then have Goodra and... Do we really need Pelipper? Pelipper wasn't very useful except for taking that one hit that one time. So we could bring Tatsugiri instead, who has good special attacking options. Then again, Pelipper's kind of nice if they're going to use the expanding force with the Hatterene. I think we should bring Pelipper again just for the focus sash. There, lead Overquill. Okay, so let's just swap in Goodra to catch hopefully the poison jab, and click Dark Pulse into Indeedee, and let's see how much that does. They don't have their Swift Swim active, but they're probably still fast. Actually, you probably don't have speed investment if you're Swift Swim. They follow me, and they poison jab a Steel type, which is good. And Dark Pulse gets to chip in Indeedee for what looks to be a 3-co. So let's protect Goodra, and let's go for this Dark Pulse into Indeedee again, as they do go for the Helping Hand Throat Chop like they did last time. So now we can KO Indeedee in the next attack or so. The problem is now I have to take the Throat Chop with whatever Pokemon. I think I prefer for it to be Breloom, so we're going to swap in Breloom and go for the Dark Pulse on Indeedee. Okay, they decided to swap Indeedee out, but what is coming in its spot? Okay, they swapped in our Caledon, and we didn't do much damage to it, and it got the defense boost. Hard to say it would be faster here. Could just Spore... Oh, the Arcaladon hasn't Terra Grassed yet, though, is the thing. Let's Rock Tomb the Overquill, and then... I think let's go for the Thunder... the computer's lagging, no. Okay, well, they were faster than the Breloom, even... They crit us with the Poison Jab, but as we saw before, that didn't matter. So we can either bring in Pelipper, and that gives them the Swift Swim, and gives their Caledon the attack, or we can just bring in Goodra here and hope that... Because if we had landed... we landed the Thunder into Overquill, we might have this, but now that our Caledon has its defense boost, it's going to be very hard to overcome. I'd say just go for the Shelter with Goodra, and we have to go for the Thunder into the Overquill, and maybe try to get it paralyzed. Throat Chop does about half. And Flash Cannon doesn't do too much damage to Muck, as we land the Thunder, and we do get the Paralysis, which is nice, as now we get the Shelter, and Muck might be faster. I mean, they have to be max speed, or speed nature in order to be faster than Muck here. It's just that Muck has to land another Thunder in order to take out the Overquill. But we can Shelter again to avoid the Haze, and Thunder with Muck. Or we could Dark Pulse, because Dark Pulse can then flinch. And probably 2-co's. Let's Shelter and then Dark Pulse the Overquill. They flat out go for the Draco Meteor with our Caledon. And do we get... No, they get the Haze, but we get our Shelter at least. So we saw that Muck was faster, and... Oh, they hazed away the Draco drop with our Caledon. That's pretty smart. Let's protect Goodra and then try Dark Pulsing the Overquill for the last of its health, because I think that's the only real way out of our game at this point. They go the Protect, and they try going for the Draco. And the Draco last time did 33.5% of our health, so there is a shot that we live it. So let's go for the Body Press, because I think we have to, and then go for the Dark Pulse into the Overquill. Okay, the Draco Meteor picked up KO'd because it did exactly as much as it did last time. So now we just have Pelipper and Muck versus the world, which is... Now we don't have a way through our Caledon because it's just going to Electroshot everything into Oblivion. I think we have to go for the Hurricane Confusion and then Thunder into Pelipper and hope that we get the Paralysis. That's just it. The Hurricane Pelipper, and our Pelipper catches the Confusion, which is nice. And the Electroshot Pelipper for the KO. Alright, well, if I had thrown the Thunder into the Overquill on that one turn where I got lagged out because of my computer, then we would have eliminated the Overquill, and the Overquill wouldn't have been able to haze away the drop on the Arcaladon. So I think we would win, which is kind of annoying, but also, like, the Overquill was still doing enough damage. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I just finished a set where I missed about 8 out of my 10 Muddy Water hits with Tatsugiri, and those Muddy Water hits cost me the set, and it's not really a good game because I'm just missing Muddy Waters the entire time, but we just had this set where I pretty much win the game instantly. So I know I say, like, it's important to show your losses so that you can learn from them, but the only thing I learned from that loss is not to run Muddy Water because it sucks. But here's a game where Muddy Water is good, so the opponent decides to lead Glimmora, Ursaluna, and I decided to lead Ludicolo and Tatsugiri, and I immediately swap into Pelipper so that we can make Ludicolo guaranteed faster than Glimmora here, as Ursaluna decides to protect thinking that it wants that one turn of Guts, as Glamora gets brought down by the Surf, but it brings down Ludicolo with a super effective move, and Ursaluna is going to take its Guts as we bring in Tatsugiri here to get the Muddy Water, and we crit the Ursaluna, which is pretty nice because I was side Weatherballed into Tatsugiri hoping that both slots would die so that we could get a boost into this next turn, and they bring in Gholdengo and Lilligant here, and we get to do good damage into Gholdengo and both Lilligant, and Pelipper is faster than the Lilligant, so we land the Hurricane into it, and Gholdengo is just sitting here nasty plotting, not really having much to do, and the opponent just decides to full quit the entire set off of those 2 turns, which is nice. But the side Weather Ball into Tatsugiri Gambit is definitely a little bit greedy there, I think. I think I should have just Hurricaned into the Ursaluna, because I honestly thought the Ursaluna would leave or Terastalize in order to dodge the attack, and if it Terastalizes, then in the back, I think I had Muck, so I could have just had Muck deal with the Ursaluna, or we could just have Pelipper hit it, and having to side surf ourselves to break our Focus Sash on Pelipper is not great, but I mean, when the Muddy Waters land, they land. Alright, well, that was the anti-Pelipper Rain team. I don't think that we played one Pelipper team today, and it didn't beat that Pelipper team, mostly because it was my fault, but if we're building an anti-Pelipper Rain team, then it should have a 100% success rate, even if I goof up in one turn. So while I think a lot of these pieces have good anti-rain and rain's synergy, it's just kind of hard to use them. Like, as we saw, Breloom's not really fast enough in order to keep up in this meta, and getting the Spore off is a little bit difficult, and Tatsugiri is going to be faster than Ludicolo, but you need the rain up, but you need Pelipper to swap out, and then Tatsugiri to take a hit if you want to set up the rain with Ludicolo, so there's a lot of things that are not working in this team, but we're going to leave this team here. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, maybe consider leaving a like on the video, and even consider subscribing, because both of those things would help me out an absolute ton. And we are back for the next 32 teams. I'm super piped, got all my batteries recharged from my few day break, and yeah, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Thank you.